Today on 3D Outdoors, it's time to change the batteries in the Denali, and we're going to do that right after this. All right, so the Denali, believe it or not, is coming up, well, it's actually past 5 years old. I bought it in the fall of 2019. And this is New Year's Eve 2024, so it's time to get those batteries changed. We're going to get over here and show you how that's done. Not a difficult process. There is some work involved, but I think you can probably do it if you have one of these. All right, first thing, what kind of batteries did we get to replace the original factories in there? And those of you who have watched my channel and watched the reviews on adult beverages, you probably will not be surprised at all when I say I went to Costco to get batteries. Yep, you heard me right, Costco. Searched all over the place for the best batteries to use and the best prices, and ended up going with Costco. They have the Interstate group size H648. They're AGM batteries, so it's not water sloshing around in there. It's the nice AGM heavier duty batteries. 760 cold cranking amp battery, which is 30 per battery more than the original factory ones. Comes with nice handles so you can carry them, which the original factories didn't have. And when I compared the price of these at Costco versus everywhere else that I looked in town and online, these were just way cheaper. I paid $179 a piece for these. When I was looking at, I think the Duracell ones, those are $239. There were some other brands that were over $300, and these are good batteries. I use Interstates in the boat and have no issues with them, never have. So I thought, why not use them in the truck? So there's the batteries we're going to be putting in there. Let's get back over here to the first things to do on here. Now, of course, the first thing you always say you want to do is take the negative battery clamp off. I actually went in first and removed this bracket right here. Sits across here like this. The nuts on the bottom, let's get a close-up view of that. Those are actually attached to the bracket, so you don't have to worry about putting a wrench on the bottom. Put a wrench on the top. Screw those out. You're going to need that. Clearly, as you can see, it sits right there over the top. You're going to need it out of the way anyway. So I just took that off first to get it out of the way. The bolt on this end is right there underneath that plastic tab, the trim piece here with the weather guard. It's right underneath there. The next step that I did is pushing out on these plastic tabs so that I could pop this up, and taking the zip ties loose that held this hose in place. Now these I just cut because there's really no way to back them out of there, but they do slide out. So when we go to put this back together, I'll show you. We're going to put new zip ties in and put this right back in place there. And then this piece here for this battery on this side, I'll show you here because one of these reclamped. You just pull out on it. Hard to hold the camera and do that at the same time, but you pry out on the plastic and just pull up. And then it comes right off and comes out of the way, and you just set that aside for now. So that's what we're going to do. See, there's your jump start terminal right there. So now we're going to take our negative off on this battery. And obviously, since this is a diesel, we have two. We're going to come around over to this side here, and we're going to take our negative off over here. So we're going to get to that done, and then we're going to continue on from there. And just in case you wanted to know, the bolts on that cross bracket there are 13 millimeter, and the posts are 10. And I think that might be your major sizes that you need for this project, is just 13s and 10s. So we'll keep going. And once you have that 10 loose, you can pull that right up and off of there. It comes right out of the way. Let's go to the other side and get that one off. See there, the negative came right off there too. We'll just tuck that back out of the way. All right, now let's get the positives off. This one here, you just stick your screwdriver in and pry out on those plastics again, and that cover comes right off of there. This is a rather unique setup here. Haven't seen one like this. Looks like there's a breaker right there in between, like a 400 amp. That's a big one. So we're gonna take the positive loose over here again. Looks like another 10 millimeter. And I suppose if you're running accessories, this cover has a notch on it right there on the left, and that would line up with this bolt, so you could run accessory power out of there if you needed to. See, it's starting to get loose already. Probably turn this wrench around now. All right, positive off. Guess we could just get after this one and get it out of there. Let me get the flashlight. I'll show you where the hold down is. Hold down on this side is right there. Hopefully you can see that right down there. Looks like it's a 13. So we're going to get a 13 down there and get that out of there. You know, you look at it and you think there's plenty of room down there. You put your hand down there and it's like, maybe not so much. All right, so as you can see, that's just a little wedge that wedges up against the battery to hold it in there, so we have that out. Now the question is, can I get this battery out of here without taking this bracket out? I'm putting gloves on. And there it comes. You do not need to take that other bracket out. So there it is, battery's out. A few leaves down in there, clean that out, and we'll get the new one put in. All right. New one has a nice handle on it that I can use when I'm swinging her down in there in place. Oh, come on. There we go. Well, there she is. She's in the tray. You just push her over to the side. There's a little lip down there. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, that the battery sits under, and then when you put the clamp down, it wedges it down tight. So it's got a lip, and there's another lip. So there's a lip right down there. I don't know if you can see it down there or not, but that battery rides under that lip, so I got it pushed over, and the hole's right down there. I'm going to put that bracket holder back in, that battery holder back in, and screw it down. All right, so to the positive side over here, the way it looks to me is what we'll have to do is pop these two connectors off, take these two nuts off, take these cables off, and then take the battery clamp off and lift this out of the way. Then we can pull the battery out. So that's going to be my process here. I'm just going to simply push down on these and unhook them just like that. Just like that. They're different sizes, so you don't have to label those two. So they'll come right out of there. There's that one. There's that one. So we got those out of the way. Now this one, I don't know if we should label these 1 and 2 or not. I'm thinking they'll probably go on the same way again. But if I just mark one of them with a Sharpie, it should probably call it out. I always like to make sure. So let's grab a Sharpie quick. All right, not exactly a Sharpie, but you know, you get the gist. I'm going to mark a black mark on there and a black mark over here. That way we know these go together right there. So now let's take those off. Yep, 13. So far it's just been a 13 and a 10, pretty standard. It's loose. All right, that one's loose. Alright, those come right off. Pull those back over here out of the way. See if we can get these to hide off out of the way. Let's grab our 10mm. I'm going to grab a socket for this actually. Okay, that comes right off like that. Now does the stack come right off now? Ah, looks like it's clipped into place right here. Let's get a closer look at that. Clips right under the battery right there. I'm sure you can see that. So we're just going to take our screwdriver, pop back on that. There's one more right here, the same way it appears. Yep, right there, and that pops up. And that pulls up and out of the way. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go get me a bungee to pull that out of the way since I'm here by myself, so stand by. All right, yeah, there we go. There's my hold it back, fix it type thing when you need an extra set of hands. These have little rubber cushions on the end, so I'm not damaging that hose over there at all while I'm anchored to it. And now I'm going to get this hold down off, which is right there in the center. And let's get that out of there. And once you know, see there's a little piece of fuzz down there. I parked this thing outside for like less than a week because we had Kim's car here in the shop and we had the tire off. And when I came back and moved it in, lo and behold, a mouse had already crawled up under there and started packing stuff in. So you always have to be aware of those darn mice. All right, let's get that off. Those of you keeping track of tool count at home, yep, 13 again. So 13 and 10. If you have a 13 millimeter socket, a 10 millimeter socket, an extension, all in 3/8 with a 3/8 ratchet, and maybe a 10 millimeter wrench, I like to have that, and a screwdriver, you're probably going to have everything you need for this little project. Oh, and a little side cutter to cut those pesky little zip ties that were on there. There's the bolt. There's the hold down. All right, let's get her out of there. I think this one's going to be funner than the other one. Funny idea, fun, right? Or not. Look at that. Get that right out of there. Back with the new one. Of course, these cables decided they wanted to come play. Let's tuck them back away out of the way. Got the negative where it goes, positive was over here. So we're not sitting on anything as we go back in. And there it is, back in there. And again, I pull it all the way over to this side. If you look down in there, and I'll try to show you again. It's kind of hard with the camera and the light and the angle and all that. But let's see if we can show you. Where the other one had one long ridge, this has a ridge there and a ridge there that battery lip slides up underneath so that it holds it in place. And then we'll put that hold down right back in place there. And just get it down in there. Line up the hole. Grab your bolt. And there's enough room to start it by hand. I always recommend starting all bolts by hand if you can. Obviously some spots where you're reaching long distances or whatever, you just can't do it. But in this case you can. And that hold down goes right over the lip of the battery down there, holds it in place. All right, there's that. Get our ratchet. Alright, that's held down. Over there, get the positive side piece off. They have a nice cover on there, along with the cap that it comes with. Gonna take our handy companion out. Like I said, you can see there's a rubber end on the ends of these tie downs. I like to have those if I'm hooking onto anything under a hood so that I don't poke a hole in anything. So let's bring this back around where it belongs and see if we can get it all seated back where it goes. There, it clips right back down. I'm going to bring these red cables back over here. And now we can see our black line and our black line, so we know these two go on right here, just like this. go, it has a little notch, so you gotta hook that notch down in so that it's all the way seated, but that's pretty simple, lines right up. Again, take our 13 millimeter, limited tool necessities here on this one, kind of nice. Tighten that down. Alright, snugs right up, there's no extra give there really. We'll hook these back in and they just slide back into the connector, opposite of what they came out. Click. See if you can hear it on this one. Hear that click? Very positive. Gonna drop the positive battery terminal down. Grab, you guessed it, our 10 millimeter. And by the way, the #1 lost socket, I think, ever. I remember when I was in the auto and diesel industry, and man, did we replace 10 millimeters. The guys that worked for me, they lost so many of them, and we provided the tools, so oof, it was rough. Okay, that is nice and snug. Battery post doesn't move at all. We're going to go to the other side, put the positive on that side now, because we want all our positives hooked before we hook a negative on. We're just going to take that, the black thing popped off like we had on the other side when I was putting that back on. So let's get this positive cable up here. Just drop her right down on there. Goes down nicely. I'm gonna go get my little stool quick. She's all the way down. We got our 10 millimeter. Yep, you guessed it. All right, that's tight. She does not wiggle. The wiggle test is confirmed. Put the cover back on and it's gonna snap right in. Hear that? Now while we're over here, we're gonna take our negative protector off and just put our negative cable back on, because we're gonna do that over there in a second. Ooh, I heard some electrical happening, so it is re-energizing. That one's on. Let's go to the other side. We have everything tightened down here, so let's put this cover back on. There's a nice protective cover that covers your jump part, and this is going to snap right back on just like that other one did over there. And this is the one that has those zip ties. We should really take those out first. So you can see the old zip tie. I just pulled that right out of there like that. I'm going to get a couple new ones to put in there, and we're going to snap this right down on top. Just laying it right up. With the post. And push down and it pops right into place. Let's go get those zip ties. And we're just going to feed those right through those holes there. Just like that. It's really as simple as that. And we see right where it sat before from the wear mark, so we'll snug that one right down. Feed that one through. Do the same thing. And obviously we don't need some big ends sticking up off of there. So we're just gonna nice and secure. Clamp those right off, right even. One clip to go there yet. nicely in place. Take our negative cover off over here. Bring our negative cable back over here again. Drop it down on there. Make sure she goes all the way down to the bottom. And you guessed it, 10mm time. Okay, that's nice and snug. What do we got left? Well, we have this brace that we took out, and I put the nuts back in it. I put the bolts back in it, and so we would not lose them in the process. And that goes underneath there. And it goes underneath here. Get this end started right here. Screw that down where it belongs. Take the other bolt. This is the one that's a little more tricky. Let's get some of this out of the way here. Like I said, this one here, you just lift up on this and put that in there. So it's a little more tricky with just two hands to do that, but it's not that hard. Right, and you guessed it, 13, but I'm using a 13 wrench. You could get by with a socket if you pulled this back far enough, but I like the wrench for this. So again, 13 and 10mm. A couple of screwdrivers, your little side cutter for trimming and releasing those other pieces. That's really all you need for tools for this project. Pretty easy. There. I think we're still in place on everything here. All right, only one more thing to do. We're going to clear all our tools out of the way first. Always like to do that. Get everything off from under the hood. That prevents those nasty little 10mm from walking off on you too. Look everything over. I always do a once over after I'm done doing something on a vehicle. Make sure I haven't left anything loose, which I didn't. I do everything in reverse order, but just making sure there's nothing laying around, nothing in the way, nothing that I missed. Make sure everything's solid in place. And there we go. Now there's just one more thing left to do. Let's grab the keys. And there we go, success. So we just replaced both batteries in this Denali HD diesel by ourselves, by myself, saving me a lot of money. I mean, I paid $179 a piece, so let's say $180 a battery. So we're $360 in batteries. I bet at the dealership, they would probably charge you at least $500 for those batteries. They're gonna mark them up, $500 or $600. And they're going to charge you the same to put it in. You probably wouldn't walk out of the dealership without dropping $1,000 to do what I just did there, and you've seen how easy that was. So there you go. This will help you out putting new batteries in there. It's easy as that. This is Dan with 3D Outdoors, reminding you to get into the outdoors and enjoy everything it has to offer. If you like this video, make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, and you always follow us over at 3d-outdoors.com. That's our website where we put everything together. See you next time.